On the surface, Australia seems to have it all. But what if that whole success story is just a beautiful facade, hiding a foundation that's about to crumble? So let's get right into it and ask the big question. Is the Australian economy actually doomed? I mean, you look at the stats and it's hard not to be impressed, right? Australians enjoy some of the highest living standards on the planet. Their individual wealth is through the roof. They've got this amazing work-life balance, great healthcare, great education. It honestly looks like the perfect place to live. But here's the catch. All of that prosperity might just be an illusion. It's like a magnificent skyscraper built on two very unstable pillars, and those pillars are starting to crack. And the really scary part? The longer it stands, the more painful to fall is going to be. To understand what's going on, we first need to look at this idea called Australia's Gilded Cage. It's this concept that the country's greatest strength, all that incredible natural wealth, might actually be its biggest weakness. Think of it like this. The country's natural resources are like a massive lottery win. Now, that's an amazing opportunity, of course, but we all know the stories about lottery winners who end up squandering it all and are worse off than before. For Australia, this jackpot has made it so easy to just dig wealth out of the ground that the harder work, building a complex, innovative economy, it just hasn't seemed all that necessary.
So let's move on and look at the first major cracks in the foundation. The whole economy is basically leaning on two crutches, its trading partners and the stuff it sells to them.
And this right here is the massive pickle Australia finds itself in. On one side, its closest strategic and military ally is the USA. But on the other side, its biggest customer, the country it completely relies on to buy all its resources, is China. So as the tension between those two superpowers just keeps ratcheting up, Australia is caught right in the middle, getting pulled in two different directions. So what is Australia actually selling? Well, get this. A staggering 65% of its goods exports are just unrefined natural resources. We're talking literally things they dig out of the ground and put on a ship. Add another 15% for agricultural products, and you're left with one of the least diverse economies in the entire developed world. This makes the country incredibly vulnerable to any swings in global commodity prices. And not only has Australia failed to diversify, it has spectacularly failed to manage its lottery winnings. Every time there's been an attempt to properly tax the massive profits of these mining companies, powerful industry lobbyists just shut it down. And it gets worse. The government now pays billions in subsidies to the natural gas industry. They are literally paying companies to take their resources. It's wild. Okay, so if the pressure from the outside wasn't bad enough, there is an even bigger monster of a problem brewing right at home. Let's talk about the great Australian nightmare, its housing market. So why are house prices in Australia just astronomical? Well, it's a perfect storm of demand. First, you have high levels of immigration, and all those people need a place to live. Then you have tax policies that pretty much make property investment a no-brainer for anyone with a high income. On top of that, the government keeps throwing grants at first-time homebuyers, which just pushes prices up even more. And finally, you have this genuine desperation from ordinary people who feel like owning a home is the only way they'll ever have a secure retirement. Okay, so you might be thinking, well, why not just build more houses? And that's a good question, but the supply side is a total mess too. You've got these really restrictive zoning laws that make it hard to build new housing where people actually want to live. Then the state governments are basically addicted to the tax money they get from every home sale, called stamp duty. So they have zero incentive to see prices fall. And to top it all off, construction itself is ridiculously expensive because builders are competing for workers with these multi-billion-dollar mining companies. And the result of all this? An entire population just saddled with a crippling amount of debt. Australians have the second highest level of household debt in the entire world. The government's books might look pretty good, but the average person's finances are stretched to the absolute breaking point, mostly just to keep a roof over their head. And this kind of economic pressure, it's not just numbers on a spreadsheet. It is tearing at the social fabric of the country, and it's creating a society that's deeply, deeply divided. Now, here's something that might surprise you. If you look at a standard measure of wealth equality called the Gini coefficient, where a lower score is better, Australia actually looks fantastic. On paper, it seems like a much more even playing field than comparable countries like Canada and the USA. But, and this is a huge but, this equality is basically an illusion. It's only so high because almost everybody's wealth is just the value that's trapped in their ridiculously overpriced home, plus the money they can't touch in their retirement accounts. It doesn't mean they feel wealthy. As the quote says, when everyone's super, nobody is. You can't really spend the equity in your house if every other house is just as unaffordable. And this whole system has created a massive generational divide. Get this. A young person working hard and earning $100,000 pays 2.5 times more tax than a retiree who earns the exact same amount from their investments. This, plus the impossible housing market, is, well, you can understand why it's causing huge resentment between generations. So, what does this all mean for the future? Well, Australia really does seem stuck. It's like they're perpetually chasing the easy money from the last gold rush, and they're either unable or just unwilling to make the hard decisions that they need for a sustainable future. The country is facing this potent mix of external threats and a massive internal housing bubble. The solutions are all politically difficult, and there just doesn't seem to be much appetite to fix problems that have, so far, made a lot of people feel rich on paper. So the final question really is this. Australia's famous luck has always come from the ground. Can it build a real, diversified economy before that luck finally and completely runs out?